All right, guys. We're gonna try this again. I just received an email from Jasmine saying that Richard is a little sick. Um, so we're just gonna wait on him and see if he'll be able to get on or not. If not, we can always reschedule. Now he's got me a little worried. Like I don't want him to do it if he doesn't feel like doing it. You know.
Hey,
Oh, hey, what's going on, man?
hey, not too much, man.
So Jasmine told me that you were a little sick.
Yeah, feel a little better after a long nap, but
Yeah.
I'll be good for the stream.
Okay, good, good. Hi. I'm
Yeah,
loving the hair.
yeah, I like a fucking hot dog suit.
I just wanted to apologize for the year-long harassment slash troll on your channel. You know,
Oh yeah, I didn't
all
notice.
all for the sake of attention.
Yeah,
I mean, because the people in the comment section, it's just a random comment that pops up, but just to get
right.
a laugh. But before we begin, I just want to know, like, how you're doing. How's life? How's everything treating you? I know you're very busy.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah.
Um, like there's been a lot of up and downs. I guess lately it's been kind of difficult. I guess for me and Jasmine. Yeah, depression has kind of hit us pretty hard, but like especially, things were kind of getting a bit better. Like I was like healthy again. I, just got over like being sick for 3 months with bronchitis, and then
Mhm.
I had that issue with my testicle, like epididymitis or something, and then I
Mhm.
couldn't train, and it kind of threw me off again.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's just another one of those situations where I just have to kind of get back in the groove again, get back to training, and
Mhm.
you know, kind of get
Yeah.
focused again.
Yeah. I mean, I'm genuinely worried about you because I mean, I'm noticing that it's taken a toll, and as much as I love watching your videos, sometimes I think this guy needs some time for himself. Go spend time with
Yeah,
his wife and his dog and all that fun stuff. But I mean, hey, man, you're a trooper, so keep doing what you're doing. I'm loving it.
thanks, man.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, first of all, I'm very happy that you actually got this debate to go down because a lot of people were skeptical. They're like, "Oh, he's not going to debate a nobody," and I'm just like, "All right, fine.
Mhm.
Well, he accepted, and I'm happy about that." But I do want to get your opinion on a few things because I want to cover like 5 or 6 topics. I have them written down here.
Right. I think abortion was one of them.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
I believe your position is that you are for abortion, right? Like you're
Yep.
pro-choice.
I'm
Okay,
pro-choice.
and I'm the opposite. And we'll get into detail in just a second. I also want to discuss things like the pet ownership and treatment.
Sure.
Um, I also want to discuss animal researching, exploitation of crop farmers, previous ownership of animal products, and a unintended hypocrisy of the vegan diet advice. And we'll get into more detail like that, but let's cover the big two issues that I really wanted to talk about. So, you are for abortion. Now,
Yep.
it's a very gray area because some people will say it's okay in the first 3 months, some people say it's okay in the first 6 months, some people say it's okay even after 9 months. So I just need to get an idea of like where you're okay with it.
Right. Okay. Well, um, from a personal level, like not even at like a ethical policy level, I'm talking for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good with it at any level. Like I haven't been shy, like admitting that I hate children.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, just from my perspective, like it's better to kill a baby that's like still in a mother's womb, but it's like one day out from being born. I
Right.
think that's a better situation than allowing a kid to be born when there's already 7 billion people, and it's gonna, be a burden on, our social system. It's gonna be a burden environmentally.
Mm-hmm.
So on a personal level, I'd say like I really don't care when an abortion takes place.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to be ethically consistent,
Mm-hmm.
I'd say we shouldn't abort up like it's fine to abort up until it can survive outside the like the mother's womb.
Uh-huh.
So, like, say, I don't know when the earliest premature birth that has been like successful has ever
Mhm.
been, but I think it's like 5 months or 6 months, something like
Something
that.
around that, yeah. Like
Yeah.
24 weeks is
So
general, right.
yeah. So I'd say up until then, because then you could argue, okay, well, it's like pretty much a fully formed sentient being,
Mhm.
and it has like sort of a right to exist like other animals.
Mhm.
But I'd say before that time, like I'd really just consider it a cluster of cells, and it just doesn't have sentience.
Right.
So I wouldn't really be worried about terminating it, especially considering the other benefits. Like, I'd say it's better to terminate a cluster of cells than it is to allow another human being to be born
Mhm.
that's unwanted in the first place, but another human being to be born that's, going to be a burden on like on their honor
Yeah,
system,
I hear it, yeah.
socially,
Yeah.
environmentally. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the thing. That's the gray area that I'm talking about is differentiating that between a fetus and a baby. And
Hmm.
I see that you're like coming at it from an ethical perspective. You're saying that it's wrong, generally, if it becomes sentient to kill it,
Yeah.
right? And I agree with you on that. The thing that I still disagree on is the fact that even though it's a bundle of cells, like we're eliminating potential life. And the thing that I draw the distinction at is, well, how do we know that the woman doesn't want the child? Is it because she can't support it financially? Is it because she was raped? Like what's the specific reason? Because the thing that generally happens is they'll have consensual sex with somebody, find out they're pregnant, and then say it's cheaper to abort than it is to have the child. When, in my perspective, I see it, even though it might be a burden on society, it's like that's your responsibility. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you should have known better. You know the consequences of it, so you should own up to that responsibility. Um, and that's a different way of looking at it. Like the way you're looking at it is saying, "Oh, don't kill or kill the baby if it's a bundle of cells because you're going to end up spending a lot more money on the kid rather than having or yeah, you're going to spend a lot more money having the kid rather than not having the kid." But the way I see it is a matter of like personal choice. You're entitled to your personal choice. I totally know your opinion on having babies and I know you don't like them and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But for the general public, it's like you know what you're doing. You did it, bear the responsibility. So,
Okay. Um, so I'd like to actually discuss the ethical issue, but I
mhm.
think first, more importantly, like we have to get through the very practical issue of
Mhm.
abortion. So you mentioned rape. Like, do you think
Yes.
it's okay for like to perform an abortion if the woman was raped?
No, I don't think so. Like, and
Really?
that's where it gets gray. It's like if she's doing it immediately, I don't think I would have a problem with it because, like you said, it's not sentient. It's a bundle of cells. I don't think I'd have a problem with that. But it's
Okay.
like,
Well, no.
yeah,
Like let's say like say a 15-year-old girl was raped,
yeah,
and then a month later she realizes she's pregnant.
mhm,
Is it okay for her to abort that child?
yeah. That in that context, I would say
Okay.
it's okay. Yeah,
Okay. Well, the issue is if you're going to ban abortion,
mhm.
like, or at least,
Restrict it. Yeah,
at least restrict it to that level, you're making abortions a hell of a lot less accessible to people.
mhm,
And like, abortion clinics, they're either going to have to receive social funding or be funded through private organizations. I know
mhm,
Planned Parenthood, they at least were socially funded in some states, and they also get donations, and they don't. I'm pretty sure for the most part they aren't free. Like, so if a woman does want to get an
mhm.
abortion, she has to pay for at least part of it.
It's very
But the
cheap.
issue,
Yeah,
yeah, but
or
the issue
affordable.
is,
Mhm,
if you're going to pretty much wipe out abortion for almost everyone except for like rare cases like rape, maybe there's some extraordinary circumstance where a
mhm,
woman becomes horribly ill and having the child would kill her,
mhm.
something like that.
Right.
You're going to make them a lot less accessible. And if that's the case, you're going to end up with situations where there's going to be like 15-year-old girls who get raped, who get
Mm-hmm.
pregnant, and they're not going to be able to get an abortion. And then you're restricting abortion, like the access to abortion, for the people that you specifically outlined the law
To have the
for.
abortion, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
and
difficult, yeah.
yeah, and on top of that, like I'm sorry, but it's just a practical reality that women are going to fucking have
Yeah,
abortions whether you like
yeah.
it or not. I
I know.
mean, you can pick out like forks, coat hangers, like
It's
people do
their
that.
it's their body, and they have the freedom to do what they want with it, and that kind of bothers me, because if we're saying it's okay in that context, then it should be okay in every context, right?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, look at it this way.
Mhm.
Should if you have a group of 100 people, one of them for sure committed murder,
Mhm.
but you have no hard evidence, like
Mhm.
to
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 convict them.
absolve
Mhm.
everyone else
Mhm.
of no wrongdoing, is it okay to sentence all of these people to jail?
No, of course not.
No. Right. So it's the same kind of thing. Would you sentence a 15-year-old girl to motherhood after she's gotten raped just so that you can stop like
Yeah.
everyone else from wrongfully? Right. So it's
Right.
that
I
same
get what you're
sort of
saying.
idea.
I get what you're saying. Yeah. I guess the issue I have with it is when I compare it to veganism, right? So abortion is a really big topic that I don't think anybody will ever get a full grasp on. But
Totally.
when it comes to veganism, it kind of bothers me, because there's some vegans that will say, "Why are you killing the male calf, right, in the dairy industry?
Mhm.
It's essentially aborting it, throwing it in the garbage. Why are you?"
Well,
You see
no,
what I'm
that's not
saying?
aborting it. That's killing it after it's being born. So that's a little different.
Oh, right. I mean, okay, sure. I mean, okay, fine. Eggs, perfect. Eggs, right, from
Well, the,
chickens.
the male chicks are still born.
Aren't they like in the yolk, and like,
No, no,
they're
no.
just
They're actually born. They have to determine the sex after they're born, and then they throw them,
really?
like they discard them. Yeah,
So if they hatch an egg, it
yeah. They can't
autom.
do that.
Oh, okay. I was unaware
Yeah.
of that. Um,
Yeah, I think in Germany they just recently they either already developed the technology or they're working on it
mm-hmm,
to ensure that egg-laying hens only lay like they can only produce female hens.
mm-hmm,
So then they don't have to discard male chicks. I'm not sure if they have that already. They developed the technology or they're trying to.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, like the chicks have to be born, like all the babies have to be born before they can determine the sex and
Yeah,
terminate them.
I don't know. For the longest time, I was aware that, if an egg is an egg, and it has to take a few months or a few weeks before it becomes, it's fine, whatever, whatever.
Mhm.
Um, and then the last thing I want to cover with abortion. So okay, so we're good on the ethical side of it. The last thing that I want to talk about with abortion is the idea of overpopulation. I remember
Mhm.
you did a stream where you discussed how overpopulation is an issue, and I disagree with you on that. And let me just give
Mhm.
you my take on it. Um, so actually, let me just give you an example. I live in Georgia. I live in Atlanta, Georgia.
Right.
And if you've ever been outside of Atlanta, Georgia, like you go south or north or whatever, I'm talking miles, right? Or Canadian, so kilometers. I'm talking about kilometers and miles of just open land, right? No houses, nothing, just trees and open land. And that's just one state. Take that and then apply it to a bigger state like Texas or
Right.
California. You have all this open land. I don't think overpopulation is the issue, but I think greed is, because you have a lot of politicians and a lot of Americans that are selfish, and they don't want to help out the general public. Like, imagine if people spent their tax dollars on building homes in those rural areas, right? Imagine if they spent their tax dollars opening another crop farm to feed more homeless people, right? I mean, you have those exceptions like India where it's like a billion people, in China. Like, come on, I get that, but I'm saying, like, in a place like this, I don't think overpopulation is an issue. So that's why I would say we shouldn't abort kids, because if it leads to overpopulation, then all we'd have to do is build more houses in these rural areas. But I don't
Okay.
know.
Well, yeah, the problem is you're looking at overpopulation simply from a like human density or population density and land use
Mm-hmm.
perspective. The issue is you can look at population density from a from like what percentage, like how many humans are living in a given area and how much arable land, like
Uh-huh.
how much land you can use for agriculture. So you can look at it from a resource perspective. You can look at it from a business perspective. Like businesses just tend to aggregate in certain areas. That's why we
Mm-hmm.
have like major cities. So from like, yeah, just from a business perspective,
Right.
you can make all the houses in these empty areas you want,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't mean businesses will end up going there. It's not going like so. And then how are you going to transport these people who can't get any jobs in that particular area because
Mm-hmm.
businesses just naturally aggregate to certain areas? Well, how are you going to transport them? It becomes a bigger issue. And then, to transport these people, you're going to have to use more resources to transport them. It's
Do you think it's more
like
complicated than it looks?
it's a lot more complicated than, okay, well, we have all this open land,
Mm-hmm.
so we could obviously have more people. And like the Netherlands is a perfect example of this.
Mm-hmm.
Now they have plenty of open land. If you like, I've been to the Netherlands. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
just tons and tons of open
It's
space.
beautiful,
And
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, they have, what is it, like 11 million people living there,
Mm-hmm.
and they only have enough food to feed 5 million people. So you have to consider,
Yeah.
okay, well, there's international trade, but will the people who we're trading with, will they still be on good terms with us,
Mm-hmm.
in the next 40, 50 years?
Mm-hmm.
Um, because of global warming and climate change, which, the Earth's population does drive,
Mm-hmm.
maybe those countries that we're getting food from won't be able to produce food because of climate change. And what about like fuel? We're going to still need gasoline for the next little while. So, and in the U.S., this is an
Mm-hmm.
issue. We have to get fossil fuels from Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have a demand for, like, we can't just use our own domestic oil. So are we going to be on good terms with these other countries in the next 50 years that we need, energy resources from, like oil and gas?
I just
So
yeah.
these are all things you have to consider when it comes to overpopulation. It's
Mm-hmm.
not just a matter of we have all this empty land and we can build
Yeah.
houses here. So you have to keep that in mind. So yeah, I'd still say overpopulation is very much a real thing.
It's just I know that the economy is driven by greed, right? And by
Yeah,
business.
well,
So
sort of.
self-interest, you know what I mean? Like if it weren't
Not
for
necessarily.
Americans buying iPhones and Samsung Galaxies, like I think the world would be a lot better place. And of course, if they stopped eating meat and the animal agriculture industry would shut down, just imagine how nice the world would be. But people want to have their cake and eat it too. And that's the way the world is working. And I feel like if they actually allocated more of their time and effort into fixing problems like or the proposed problem you're saying of overpopulation, yeah, sure. Maybe it wouldn't be such a problem. Because I think, yeah, you might have these foreign affairs where people need to agree with each other and transport fuel from one country to the next, or even worse, provide the adequate amount of food for the adequate amount of people living in that specific population. I don't think it's as complicated when you put it in those terms. As long as we bring the greed down, as long as we bring that self-interest down, the world will become a better place. Wouldn't you agree?
Not necessarily. I mean, we've tried to do that with communism, like Soviet Union, China, Cambodia, and that all led to horrible, horrific massacres. Like it's very difficult
Well, you're talking about a
to.
dictatorship, right?
Well,
I'm
look,
not advocating. I'm not advocating for communism or socialism. I'm just saying, like in theory, wouldn't you think it would
well,
work?
you're talking about having like government oversight over things. You are like okay, like it doesn't even matter if it's government oversight.
Yeah.
It could be corporate oversight. Like we could totally get rid of the government entirely
Uh
and just
huh.
have corporations run our legal systems and
Mm.
manage our resources. But the issue is you seem to be talking about resource management on
Mm-hmm.
the level of just like a totalitarian kind of control, not allowing
Ah.
free market.
Oh, I don't want
You're
it
not
to come
allowing
off
a
like
free
that.
market.
I don't want it to
Like,
come off like that. I'm
okay,
sorry. Yeah.
well, like, I mean, how do you, like, when you say you want to put houses in all this empty
That's just
space
an
and manage
example.
resource, right? But I
Yeah.
mean, just the way it's going to be done, it sounds like you're talking about like implementing socialism, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But when you start taking away free market and
Mhm.
people's ability to choose how they use their resources,
Mhm.
it becomes a really messy area where you're going to end up infringing on people's rights to an
Mhm.
extent where you'll end up, in a Soviet Union situation where millions and millions of people are murdered.
No, I don't want that, sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm sorry if it
well,
came off that
obviously, but
way.
like there's a reason why
Mhm.
the world is the way it is. Like why we have capitalism, why we have iPhones, why there's you know uh, why there's a lot of poor people and there's a lot of rich people. Like there's wealth disparity.
Mhm.
It's not that like it's just plain greed.
Mhm.
I think a big part of it has to do with we just haven't found a way to distribute wealth well. We haven't found a way to distribute resources in the most effective way while still maintaining personal individual freedoms
Mhm.
and the freedom, like corporate freedoms as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's difficult to talk about, like, it's difficult to implement resource management in the way
Mhm.
you described without taking away a lot of freedom.
I see what you're saying, and
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. So I'll have to agree with you on that one. It's really difficult to take. It's really difficult to like you said, do what I dream of having, right, or
Mhm,
whatever the world would look like, and have give people their freedom that they want because
mhm,
people don't want to go to the homeless shelter, right? They want to go to
mhm,
the comedy club and they want to enjoy and entertain themselves and stuff like that.
mhm.
So in that regard, I can see that, but generally speaking, I still don't see overpopulation as an issue. And my question to you is, do you have any arguments to convince me otherwise?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Why do we have international conflicts over oil?
Oh God, that is a tough question to answer. Um,
Well, no, it's overpopulation.
you think so?
The reason, yeah, like, I mean, you could implement policies that restrict our use of gasoline,
Mm-hmm.
but again, that's infringing on personal freedoms.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but yeah, the reason why we have these international conflicts over oil, why we're
Mm-hmm.
dependent on foreign oil,
Mm-hmm.
is because of overpopulation. Like, you could always
Well,
argue, okay, well, we could turn down our thermostats, we don't need to drive as much, but that infringes on personal freedoms.
Well, okay. I mean, I could
And
just I could just throw it back at you real quick. Sure. Like right now in this economy, obviously we're using a lot of oil and gasoline and all that, but you have an electric bike. I mean,
yeah,
wow. Like what an innovation. We've come this far. We have electric cars. You don't think someday that the world is gonna stop using
oh
oil
sure,
and they're gonna start using
I
electric cars?
think I think that's coming soon,
Yeah.
but again,
Wouldn't that kind of hinder the
over
overpopulation being an issue?
Okay, well, if we did switch to electric vehicles,
Mm-hmm.
then I couldn't use oil in particular as an argument.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is we are dependent on foreign resources.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, oil is the big one. And international conflicts are being fought over oil.
I,
And
I see what you're
we
going
have
at. Okay.
plenty of domestic oil. It's just that like the population is too high. And
Mm-hmm.
you can always argue, okay, well, we don't need to drive as much. We could use more public transportation, things
Mm-hmm.
like that. But then you're talking about resource management on the level of socialism, and then you end up infringing on personal rights and freedoms.
Yeah.
So it is fundamentally a population issue.
Mhm.
So you could get rid of dependency on foreign oil by reducing the
I see
population.
what you're getting at. We can get rid of that, and that's just one problem that we've solved, but it's the idea of just having that relationship with foreign countries, and that's never gonna go away, right? That diplomacy? And that kind of stirs
No,
either.
it absolutely can.
What's that?
Well, like there's no guarantee that we'll be on good terms with foreign countries indefinitely.
I no, I'm saying that, like, obviously, it's gotten more peaceful in the last 50 years or so, but, there's gonna be conflict regardless, right?
Mhm.
And you're saying in spite of that, that's that's ultimately why overpopulation is a problem, is because of our conflicts with foreign nations
Well,
and
no,
our.
there's just such a demand for resources
Hmm.
that we're going to have conflicts with other countries over
Okay,
these resources.
right.
And you could eliminate that problem if we reduce the world's population.
I got you.
And
That makes
I
sense.
mean,
You put the pieces of the puzzle together for me. It makes sense
and
now. Yeah.
another big thing to consider here
Mhm.
is that, in really, really poor countries like India,
Mhm.
your average person, they're poor. So they can't own a car. They
Mhm.
can't take international flights and take a vacation to the Bahamas.
Right.
They get all of their food locally. All their energy resources are local, like
Mhm.
even if it's coal. So nothing's really being transported over great distances.
Mhm.
And because of that, the uh, the environmental impact of a single person in somewhere like India or any other poor area,
Mhm.
it's many, many, many times lower than the environmental impact of your average person in somewhere like the United States or
Yeah,
Canada.
I would agree
So
with
that's
that.
another thing to consider. Um, if you if you care about something like global warming
Mhm.
and climate change, you do have to recognize population, like just the total population of the US and Canada. That's a huge driver of climate change
Mhm.
because each individual person has a much higher environmental impact than your average person in a poorer country.
Of course, of
So,
course. I'm not going to
yeah.
disagree with that. So it seems like we're pretty clear on that, and you did clear up a lot of things. Um, and you still didn't convince me on it. I would have to do my own research for it, but a good attempt nonetheless. Okay, so the second thing that I'd like to talk about is pet ownership and treatment.
Sure.
Before I get into it, I just need to let you know that if you've watched any of my videos, you've probably seen my cat or my dog. I have a cat and a dog.
Mhm,
Um, so I'm totally for pets. I love pets. It's great. Like, it's fantastic. You have a dog. I think you have rabbits as well, and you tried to like
mhm.
take them to another place for a better home or whatever. Um, so I don't have an issue with you owning pets or me owning pets or people owning pets, right? The problem I have is some vegans will say you shouldn't own pets because that's not vegan. And you and I would look at them and say, what kind of silly argument is that, right? But
Mhm.
I took it a step further in the past few days to really, scrutinize and see what's wrong with it. And I've come to the conclusion that I think, from their perspective, they are seeing pet ownership and our treatment as another form of slavery. Can you?
Um, well, the way I see it, I don't know how all these other people think,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to take things into context. Like pet ownership in and of itself as an abstract concept
Mm-hmm.
isn't immoral. Just like eating meat, like in and of itself as an abstract concept
Mm-hmm.
isn't necessarily immoral. Like you just have to put things into context.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, if you're going to buy a pet from a pet store or
Mm-hmm.
from a breeder, I would say that's immoral because you're supporting animal exploitation,
Mm-hmm.
and you're driving an industry that does end up causing a tremendous amount of cruelty. I mean, I'd say at least bare minimum, like half the pets you see are being mistreated in some way at some level.
Yep.
I like just your average dipshit who owns a dog, like they just don't know how to
Take care
treat a
of it. Yeah.
dog, how to
Exactly.
take care of it,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of these animals, like cats are a bit different, but dogs especially, they're extremely social. They're
Mm-hmm.
like they've evolved to live in a pack and be with each other
Mm-hmm.
constantly. So leaving your dog alone is extremely stressful for a dog. And
I know.
most
Yeah.
people work 8 hours a day and they leave their
Mm-hmm.
dog totally alone. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's things like just the industry in general. I think we can say it's objectively cruel. It's
Mm-hmm.
objectively causing animal cruelty and exploitation. I think that's at least where
I would
I
agree
see
with
the
you.
issue.
I would agree with you.
Um, Now I've seen some other vegans kind of take it a step further where they think pet ownership on any level, like say if you adopted a dog that you rescued from a shelter, that's cruelty
Yeah.
because you're kind of taking away its own ability to make a choice, like
Right.
whether it wants to live out in the wild or something.
Right.
Now, I can kind of understand that, but the issue there is,
Domestication.
these like the issue there is these animals can't really communicate
Mhm.
on, the level we can, so you have to make a lot of choices for them
Mhm.
that you think is in their best interest.
And I would
So
and I would argue to them, right? that they have to recognize domestication,
Yeah. Well,
and that
totally.
like it started, I want to say 10,000 years ago, with like
Yeah.
the cats and dogs in Egypt, right? Or I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's where they started. Um, so I
They
can,
can't survive out in the wild for
right.
sure. Yeah.
They have to recognize that these animals were once wild, and now that they're domesticated, they're unable to go back in that sort of environment and
Yeah.
quote unquote survive. You know what I mean?
Well, especially if we're talking about like certain breeds of dogs and cats. Like, I
Hmm.
mean, um, a big Bengal cat could probably do okay
Yeah.
in, or a Savannah cat. Like, it could probably do okay living out in the wild.
Hmm.
But I mean, a munchkin with tiny little paws or something, like it's not going to live. And
Hmm.
same thing with like chihuahuas or Pomeranians, like they're not
Exactly.
going to. It's a lot different trying to reintroduce a German Shepherd into the wild
Hmm.
than trying to introduce a Chihuahua.
Yeah.
So you have to take that into consideration.
And the other thing that the other thing is, like, I like to play devil's advocate, right? Because even as a
Mhm.
vegan, I'm still not 100% on my convictions. Like, I still question it from time to time, and I don't know if that's a bad thing. I feel like we should always question the things that we're certain about, and I'll
Yeah.
get to that in the end. I have a very great example at the end of the debate. But the thing that I play devil's advocate on is, okay, uh, we're saying that it's okay for us to take care of pets because if they lived out in the wild, they wouldn't survive. Well, in that case, we're just appealing to tradition because they were domesticated. They were not domesticated at one point, and now that they are domesticated, we're saying it's okay, right? Like the tradition is domestication, just like eating meat is the tradition. We're saying it's not okay. Do
Mhm.
you see that distinction that I'm
Okay,
making
I
there?
get what you're saying.
And then the other part of it, the other fallacy that might get in there is the appeal to nature. Um, Animals like it when we take care of them. And when we take care of them, they feel good. Therefore, it's like it's natural to take care of them. Therefore, it's good, right? Like, you see what I'm saying? From their point of view, not mine. I think if you own a pet, I think if you own a pet and you genuinely take care of it, you feed it constantly, you
Mhm.
take it out on frequent walks, you clean its crap up, all that good stuff, right? And they recognize and they, have affection toward you, then yeah, of course. But I'm talking like it's a cruel industry because my goodness, man, like I know people that bought a dog, spent like $500 on it,
Mhm.
and then bought another dog with another 500, and they'll be the same breed of dog, but then they'll have 9 puppies, and then they'll sell the
Yeah.
puppies,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, if you wouldn't do that to your kids, why is it okay to do it to the animal? Like, do you think the
Well,
animal wants
right.
that?
Just just the nature of creating more animals just so they can be pets. Like I see that as immoral.
Yeah.
Um, Also, I mean, not all of these dogs even become sold. Like,
Mhm.
what the average litter is maybe around 8, 10 puppies.
Mhm.
So not all of these dogs are going to end up being sold. And you have a situation where there's just a ton of stray dogs, unwanted animals, that aren't being taken care for. So
Mhm.
why are you breeding more animals when there's already like thousands and
Mhm.
thousands and thousands of pets and shelters that
Yeah.
need a home?
They're
Yeah.
trying to make money off of it. I'll give you a
Yeah,
personal
totally.
example. Man, I didn't catch it at first because I'm not witty. Like, you and
Mhm.
Isaac are super witty, man. I got to give you guys credit on that. My brain, it doesn't function that quickly. But I have a border collie. It's pure border collie, totally by
Mhm.
random. uh like the way I got the dog was this dude was giving away puppies, right? Like in the farms in Georgia, they'll just give away puppies, and he was giving away border collies. He said the mother had ran away and she was gone for 2 weeks, and he's afraid she's never going to come back. So then
Right.
when I got there, I saw only 2 puppies, and one guy picked up one puppy, and I picked up the second, and I just love her to death. She's so freaking fast. She is so freaking smart. She like has insane agility, right? Like border collie, they're known for that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
My mom's friend wanted to come, and she has a Siberian husky. And then she said, did you give it an operation? And I said, yeah, because I don't want the dog to overpopulate, right? Have
Yeah.
unwanted babies like what happened to her mom.
Mhm.
So then she's like, oh yeah, me or Mosey and Omega should get together. And I'm like, oh yeah, they should. A week later, I went to go get her spayed because I'm like, this lady is trying to profit off of my dog's babies.
Totally. Yeah.
And I wasn't for that, you know? And I don't want to take my dog into competitions. Like, we'll play outside or whatever, but I feel like taking her, and she likes to work. That's the craziest thing. She likes
Yeah.
to freaking work. So it's
Yeah.
like, is it immoral for me to put her in a competition because I'm kind of exploiting her? So that's
Yeah.
another great area that we're standing at. Like people that like a dog that wants to work and you're not allowing it to. But if you do
Yeah.
let it work, you're a piece of
I
crap.
wouldn't call that exploitation. I'd call that I don't know, something that like I don't know, do you win money or something at these competitions? Like
Yeah, usually they'll have like
yeah.
a prize or something.
Yeah, okay, like I wouldn't call that exploitation. Like if the dog genuinely wants to work, I'd just say
Mhm.
that's I don't know, beneficial for both of you.
Mhm.
Yeah, dogs like, being in a pack and having a hierarchy and, working
Yeah.
just like and having some kind of duty. They just enjoy that sort of thing. So
Mhm.
I I wouldn't consider that exploitation. Maybe for a cat, you could maybe say because cats aren't really like that.
They're so damn selfish.
Yeah, yeah. But for a dog, I wouldn't really consider that exploitation.
Okay, okay, good. So the other thing that I wanted to cover about the treatment of pets would be where is it? I have it written down over here. Yes, their extension of freedom
Yeah.
and in terms of slavery. So um, I'm not sure, but even for those people that do have dogs and they take care of them and cats and all that stuff, should we
You are
extend?
taking away a great deal of freedom for sure.
Yeah, should we extend their freedom to that extent or to a lesser extent of that of a humans or not?
Well, you just have to. I mean, they don't have the ability, at least most of them, to survive out in the wild. And even
Mhm.
if they did, it's not a good idea. I mean, cats are insanely effective hunters,
Mhm.
and a lot of environmentalists say don't let your cat outside because they'll just fucking
Yes.
destroy everything, and they're
Mhm.
horrible for the environment. I'm sure dogs are like it's very much the same way. Like you
Right.
can't let domesticated animals just out
Run
into the
loose.
wilderness.
Mhm.
It's environmentally devastating.
Mhm.
Um, Also, like I mean, most dogs they just don't have the sense to walk around off leash. I mean, they're going to run into a car or something.
Yeah.
So you have to unfortunately you have to restrict their freedom
Mhm.
for their own benefit.
Because they don't know
Now,
any better. Yeah.
yeah, and I wouldn't consider that a moral good. I'd say that's the lesser of two evils. Like
Mhm.
I do think it's wrong to remove or take away rights from a creature, but I mean, you have to for its own benefit. Like
Yeah.
it just doesn't realize that. And yeah, it's just the lesser of two evils. Like if I had it my way, the entire pet industry would be totally gone, and
Yes.
the vast majority of people just wouldn't own pets.
Mhm.
But I mean, yeah, like there's a lot of dogs in shelters. There's a
Mhm.
lot of cats in shelters that need a home,
Mhm.
and I think it is a good thing to take these animals from a shelter and help them.
Yeah.
So yeah, like unfortunately, it's not perfect. You do have to take away their rights,
Mhm.
which isn't a good thing, but
What are you
it's
gonna do,
for their
right?
own
Yeah.
benefit ultimately. Yeah.
So, this is the thing. My brothers always give me crap for being vegan. You know,
Yeah.
like they'll joke around and stuff, and it's cool. Like they totally respect my decision. My family loves the fact that I'm vegan, and I've had a great impact on their eating habits. But I've always deployed Isaac's, like really tight argument, the name the trait. So I
Mhm.
would always come up to them and I would say, well, name the trait present in animals, which, if present in humans, would justify the killing of a human.
Mhm.
So then when we were talking about pets, they threw it right back in my face and they said, name the trait present in animals, which, if present in humans, would justify the pet ownership of a human. And
Mental retardation.
is that
Like,
right?
well, I mean, people who are severely retarded are basically pets. I mean, like I've seen well, they are treated very much the same way. I
Yeah.
mean, severely retarded, like, yeah, totally.
Hmm.
these like retarded people, they don't have the intelligence
Mm-hmm.
to like make choices for themselves or take care of themselves properly.
Uh-huh.
And like I've seen it all the time. I went to a school where there was like a part of the school devoted to mentally retarded kids, and some of
Mm-hmm.
them were really, really, really retarded,
Yeah.
like severe. It wasn't just a simple learning disability,
Mm-hmm.
and you know they they wanted certain things, but like their
They
parents
couldn't
just
express it,
couldn't
yeah.
let them do it
Yeah, yeah.
because and the parents have to make choices based on the kids' well-being. Like
It's
that's really the
sad.
case for all kids,
Mhm.
honestly, but it's more so for, mentally retarded
Because
people.
they're living, I mean, it's past childhood. It goes on to, their
Yeah.
whole It's very sad, you
Yeah.
know. I hate
Yeah.
I hate seeing it. It really rips my heart apart.
Yeah,
Um,
so, yeah,
that
I just say intelligence, really.
Okay, thank
Like,
you.
that would
Y
have to be the trait.
When they watch this live stream later, they're gonna see this,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna give them that, so
Yeah, it's obvious. If you've ever
Mhm.
seen somebody who's severely retarded, like you
Uh-huh.
have to make choices and take away their freedoms and make choices on their behalf that is
That
overall beneficial for them, just like with a pet.
Yeah,
So
we're
yeah,
just giving it a different meaning. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, good, good, good. Thank you. That cleared up everything. The next thing I would like to discuss, and you can stop me anytime, just let me know all that
Yeah,
stuff.
sure.
I just have like three or four more things I want to cover, and these are going to go by really, really quick. Um,
Hmm.
Animal researching. That is
Hmm.
one that I am stumped on, and I have
Right.
no idea whether to argue left or right because it's really touchy. So we have this thing where we take animals like rats, monkeys, right, chimps, sometimes even pigs, like guinea pigs, and
Yeah.
we use them for research. Specifically in sociology and psychology, we use them to figure out socialization and that sort of stuff, right? Behaviors. Um, in one aspect, when you research and you use these animals, you are advancing the medical science and science in general. You're advancing
Right.
it vastly. And of course, it's immoral to perform on a human subject without their consent, and you have to follow like the IRB and all
Yeah.
that sort of stuff. But
Right.
the point being, you're advancing medical research. On the other hand, you are exploiting animals without
Right.
their consent.
Yeah.
Where do we draw the line there? You see what I'm
Okay.
saying? Should we
Well, I think
continue or should
yeah,
we stop?
I think name the trait would work well there if
Uh
we're
huh.
gonna make like if we're gonna talk on the level of ethics, like name the trait lacking in animals that if present in humans would just or lacking in humans would
Hmm.
justify, performing inhumane experiments on humans.
Hmm.
I don't think you can really do that. It's just that nobody really gives a shit about rats. It's like we can
They
recognize
despise
they're
them.
sentient. Yeah, like we can recognize that they're sentient, have a will to live, and can experience pain and suffering, but we
Hmm.
put them through tremendous suffering and kill them for
Right.
these experiments. It's just that collectively we've kind of decided like it's just a rat, who cares?
Hmm.
But if we're going to say we won't do this to a human because, like,
Because they're human. They're
yeah,
animals. We don't care.
right. Like it just doesn't make any consistent logical sense
Hmm.
if like these traits like sentience, will to live,
Hmm.
prevents us from doing this to a human. It doesn't make any logical sense to do this to any other
Hmm.
animals.
Or
And
intelligence for that matter. Like if somebody were
yeah.
to deploy the argument, say that, oh, the rats are not smart. Yeah, sure, they feel pain and suffering, but they don't know what's good for them. They're actually helping us more than hurting us. If somebody were to say that, well, I'd say the same thing about a mentally ill person. Like if I wanted to
Yeah,
stay logically
totally.
consistent, I'd say let's just experiment on the mentally ill because they're not doing any good for society. We're just taking care of them like we are pets. And
Yeah, yeah.
and then, of course, the blinders turn on. They say, "No, no, stop right there. They're human." Okay, name the trait. Tell me the difference.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, I
it's
think
tough.
yeah, I think those people would just appeal to like species normality, which is the most retarded argument ever. Well, mentally retarded people, well, they are mentally retarded and they're basically like lab rats,
Uh
but
huh.
the thing is they're part of the human species, and because that's the average, like the
Mhm.
average among the human species is to be intelligent and not retarded, then
Mhm.
it's unfair to treat them like mentally retarded people. Like
Mm-hmm.
that just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, okay, so if you were part of a species that in general was intellectually inferior to a
Uh-huh.
human, but you were one of the exceptions where they were extremely smart like a human,
Mm-hmm.
you'd be okay with being like tortured and experimented on. It's just totally retarded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the gray area that I've always considered and I have trouble with because I myself am studying criminal justice, and one of the things that I proposed as a thesis topic that got shot down right away was criminalizing meat eating. I know that's far
Right.
fetched. I know it's way
Yeah.
out there, right? Like, how is this guy going to show us some way that it should be criminalized? Traditions and centuries of people. That's just one thing. But when it comes to animal researching, if I were to continue that topic, I myself would have to engage in some sort of animal exploitation, which I'm not very comfortable with. You see my point?
Oh, so
Like,
wait, you're going through law school or
no, no, I'm getting my
oh,
graduate degree.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm getting my
Oh,
master's
so you're
degree.
saying so you're saying in school you'd have to engage in some sort of animal exploitation, like you're gonna
Right.
have to
And
animal.
and
Okay.
if I wanted to propose that thesis topic, so
Right.
it's silly. I had to rearrange and I changed a bunch of stuff. I'm graduating this semester. Hopefully,
Okay.
probably, maybe, I don't know. I'll find a different university in a year and pursue a
Mhm.
PhD like in Maine. I know there's a professor up there who's a vegan, and I read like most of his research. Very, very profound stuff. And he's talking about how animal cruelty is synonymous with eating meat. Like people that mistreat their
Right.
animals, that sort of stuff. So who knows? Maybe a year from now, I'll be doing a dissertation on that. But that was the big thing because I'm still iffy about it. I still don't know how to pursue it. But for the time
Mhm.
being, I can see why we do it. And yeah. So the next thing I want to discuss, uh, I believe the Worski brothers,
Well,
sort of.
actually, before we go
Yes,
on, I
sure.
think we could talk about animal experimentation further because,
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
um, like, just from a totally practical perspective, I don't even think it's all that useful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know one of the like some of the biggest over-the-counter drugs, they didn't actually pass animal testing, but it turns out they were perfectly suitable for human use. Like, I think it was aspirin or Tylenol.
Uh huh.
It turned out it was it performed horribly in animal experiments.
Mm-hmm.
I think they got up to chimpanzees or something, and the chimps had a horrible reaction to it.
Mm-hmm.
But it turns out it's perfectly safe in humans.
Oh, that's weird.
So
You think it's because of
so
our vaccinations or something,
no,
or
no,
our
it's
immune
just a
systems?
difference in biology and how we metabolize certain
Uh
things.
huh.
So yeah, like if that's going to be the case where you get totally different reactions in animals compared to humans, I don't
Mm-hmm.
even know why we're using them for drug research. Like we
Mm-hmm.
should just use humans.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like I think overall, like maybe there's a few exceptions, but I just don't see animal research being all that useful. I think it's just that we used it in the past and mainly for tradition, we just
Mm-hmm.
keep using animals.
Well, let's broaden the scope a bit and take it back about 100 years. Let's broaden the scope. You're
Mhm.
talking about animal experimentation. Now, our science is super advanced now than it was 100 years, than it was 1,000 years.
Mhm.
I mean, do you use shampoo, right? You use
Yeah,
conditioner, you use lotion,
yeah,
all that stuff. How do we know that it's safe for us, right? We
yeah,
experiment. We experiment on the animals,
yeah.
but there's trial and error. They go through rounds and rounds of putting the right chemicals in the bottle, and when they put it on a poor rabbit and you see its flesh getting ripped off, oh, clearly that's not good for humans. But let's try it again on another rabbit. So how is it that you're going to stop something that is continuously happening when there's such a high demand for makeup, for lotion, for all that sort of cosmetic crap, which I hate. I don't know why people
Mm.
use makeup. Like you're beautiful. Like you are beautiful. Just don't mess with yourself. So how is it that you're going to stop something like that? You see what I'm saying? When there's such a high demand for it.
Oh, like just research?
Yeah, how are they going to stop experimenting on animals? Like, if they want to come out with a new, if they
Oh,
want to
just
come
for
out,
cosmetic research.
if they want to come out with a new color lipstick, or if they want to come out with a new smelling perfume, they'd have to test it on an animal first to see if it's still safe for humans, right?
Okay, well, I mean, we've used these chemicals and shit for such a long time. I'm sure we already have like prior knowledge that certain things
Mm-hmm.
are going to be toxic to a human. So I don't know why you'd have to continually research on animals.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, I mean, if you're going to do research for like makeup or something, that's not an altruistic kind of goal. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to experiment on an animal to try to find a cure for cancer,
Yeah,
that's a hell of a lot different.
of
So,
course.
right. So, I mean, I think it would be very easy to enact some kind of legislation that prevents animal research for the purpose of, I don't know, some kind of like vanity industry.
Mm-hmm.
Like it has to be for some sort of goal to advance the scientific understanding or
Mm-hmm.
bring up the well-being of mankind. Like
Yeah.
I think it would be very easy to just put that into law where you can't experiment on animals to
Mm-hmm.
make sure a certain type of lipstick is okay.
We're seeing vast changes in these big companies, and I think it's amazing. I know Nike has their vegan line. I have Birkenstock, the sandals. I wear those because my feet are messed up, and I noticed that most of their stuff is leather, but they've opened up a vegan line. So,
Huh.
like, we're seeing these changes grow
Yeah, I'm sure
considerably.
industry demand will change things as well.
Yeah, but and I think in spite of that, the animal experimentation will end sooner rather than later. People are
Mhm.
getting the message, and it's becoming better.
Well, yeah, I mean, just from a practical perspective, I don't even see it being all that useful.
Mm-hmm.
Like especially if we're talking about medications.
Mm-hmm.
Like it might be a bit different for cosmetic testing, but especially medication, it's completely useless.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, for cosmetic testing, I think it's like everyone can kind of see that it's totally unethical.
Mm-hmm.
So even if there is like a benefit of experimenting on animals to see if a certain brand of makeup is okay for human use,
Mm-hmm.
we can just plainly see that that's unethical. You're torturing an animal just to make sure like some chick can wear
Exactly.
lipstick with every
Yeah.
reaction. Like that's total bullshit.
Yeah.
um yeah, so I see it going away eventually
Mm-hmm.
just because of like practical realities. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's just not all that useful to experiment on animals. People just waking up and seeing that it's unethical.
Mm-hmm.
Industry demand, people just don't want to support cruelty.
Oh,
Things like that.
sorry, I just forgot.
Yeah.
Like, one of the biggest things that we use in the world, right, especially in these developed countries, toothpaste. Wow.
Hmm.
Like, goodness, how much product do we sell that has fluoride, and how,
Yeah, yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, I didn't realize the effects of it, but geez, man, like,
yeah. I use a fluoride free toothpaste.
yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
it's not. I mean, it's a little bit more expensive here, but what, I'd pay an extra dollar to know that I'm not, contributing to the animal suffering. So,
Hmm.
is there anything else you wanted to discuss on the animal researching or experimentation that we didn't cover?
No, I think we're good there.
Okay, now this one I'm gonna have to throw you under the bus for a little bit. Don't take it as
Hmm.
an ad hom or anything. Um,
Yeah.
but the Worski brothers sort of touched on this in a different context. So I'm just gonna bring it back a little bit and put it in a different context. I believe it was that debate where they mentioned you had you had a cell phone and electric computer, like, not electric computer. You had three monitors and
Right,
all
right,
that electricity and stuff, and they're saying, well, you're buying that and you're contributing to the suffering of people in foreign countries like Asia
right, right,
and all
right.
that stuff. Okay, I want to take that a step further and say to vegans as a whole, um, because again, my brothers, they always debate with me, and they're like, well, I mean, I'm not 100% convicted. I have to think from their point of view. They say, well, if you eat a bunch of bananas, you're exploiting the crop farmers. If you're eating
Oh,
avocados,
I see.
it's coming from Mexico. They're not getting paid fairly. They don't want to be working 12-hour shit. And I'm like, shit, you guys got me there. Um, yeah, we're exploiting them, and I'm contributing to it. So
Okay.
so clarify that
Okay.
for me.
Okay, well, it's really simple. when you're buying foreign food, like it can even happen with domestic food, really. But you know, if you're buying food from foreign countries where people aren't really being compensated what we'd call fairly,
Mhm.
um, it's not that you're supporting like slave labor or something. It's
Mhm.
just like it's just a reality. They have a different way of life. They're in a different kind of economic situation, and them picking avocados or bananas or rice, like you name the crop,
Yeah, in
uh,
China, sure. Whatever.
that's the best job that's available to them. Like
Mhm.
if they had access to like another career that made more money, they'd do it. But
Mhm.
that's the best job that's available to them.
Mhm.
So if you're going to say it's immoral to buy those foods or like those foreign foods like avocados, say like from Mexico, because these people aren't getting a lot of money by selling those avocados,
Mhm.
like that's just complete nonsense. That's the best job they can get. And if we totally, you know, boycott like these avocado farmers, okay, well now they don't have any job. Is that a better situation than what they have now?
Yeah.
And if you're
Yeah.
going to boycott food because the farmers don't make much money, you're going to end up boycotting entire fucking countries.
Uh-huh.
Like and on top of that, like over half of US chicken farmers live
Uh-huh.
at or below the poverty line.
I know.
So, like, if you're going to criticize vegans for supporting like unfair labor, it just doesn't make any fucking sense.
It's
It's
hypocrisy. Yeah, it's a
yeah.
hypocrisy for sure. And
Mm,
I would say it's hypocritical from them. I mean, they're of course they're just saying it because it's a defense. It's a
yeah,
red herring. They're
it's
just trying to divert the
yeah.
argument. Like,
Well, it's a fallacy. There, it's a tu quo qui fallacy. They're
oh yeah,
saying,
yeah,
well,
that's right.
you're guilty
Sorry.
of the same thing, so who cares?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. That's right. Um.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's not that you're supporting slave labor, you're just supporting somebody in another country,
Mhm.
and that's the best job they can get. It's not that you're supporting slave labor, you're
Mhm.
just supporting economic growth,
So.
and they're just at a point where they're still living in poverty, and you're supporting economic growth by buying their products.
So the question I have to ask you then is, let's say we stopped, right? Let's say hypothetically we stopped purchasing the avocados and the bananas and the Chinese rice and whatever. We
Yeah,
are we are
they'd have more poverty.
we're taking that job away from them.
Yeah, totally.
But
You contribute to
y-
poverty.
you don't think the government would recognize that as an issue and strive to make some sort of social reform and say, "Oh
No,
crap."
like they can't. Like they just don't have the money. Like that's why they're in those sort of working conditions is
Mhm.
because they don't have the money. Like this is how like every country has gone through this at
Mhm.
some point, even the US. I mean,
Mhm.
look at working conditions 100 years ago. They were way, way, way fucking worse than they
Oh,
are
of
today.
course.
And
Yeah.
it's just because they didn't have the money back then.
Mhm.
It's just part of the process.
Mhm.
uh, yeah, you have to go through a lot of fucking shit, and
Mhm.
as economic growth increases, then you know workers end up getting compensated fairly. Improvements to working
Mhm.
conditions occur. Like
Well,
that's just how it is.
it's a tragedy because I know you've been outside of Canada, and you've been to Belgium, you've been to Europe, all that stuff. Have
Mhm.
you have you ever been to a third world country? Have you ever
No,
visited one? Okay, so
well, I've been to
it's
Cuba. I guess you can. I
that
don't know
that
if that would
counts. Sure,
technically be
that counts.
considered. Yeah.
I would say that. Yeah. Okay. Oh, Cuba, perfect. I mean, I've been to the Middle East, and man, dude, look, this is the weirdest thing: is that these people are poor, but I've never seen bigger smiles on somebody's face. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like one of the guys that when I used to eat meat, we would go fishing, and he would wake us up at 6 in the morning. We'd get in that tiny boat, and we would sit there for 12 hours just casting, grabbing fish, putting them in the boat. Once it gets full, go back to the shore, drop them off, come back. You know the process.
And where was that?
This was in Lebanon.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where my family's from. Although I'm Palestinian, but whatever.
Hmm.
Um, they would take the fish, and then we'd haul pounds and pounds, just slap it over our backs and walk up the mountains. You know what I mean? And they would eat. And then I say, "Wow, that's really fun," And then the guy says, "Yeah, I do it every day." And I said, "Is that your job?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "So where's your money? Why aren't you getting paid?" He's like, "I don't get paid much."
Mhm.
And I'm like, "Okay, well you don't get paid much, but you should be getting paid something." I'm like, "A guy in the United States would be getting paid at least $15 an hour." And he says, "No, I don't get paid much, but all I know is that I'm having food to eat and it's in my stomach and I'm happy to be alive."
Mhm. Right.
So, when it comes to that sort of stuff, when you boil it down to the individual level, I can see that in a third world country, it's not necessarily exploitation, you know?
Right. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like I know it was a big thing that Walmart uh like was caught. Well, they weren't really caught.
Mhm.
It seems like they were getting products in a supply chain from like places in India or
I heard
Pakistan
about that.
where
Mhm.
they were getting stuff from child labor, and it didn't in that particular region, the places they were getting product from, they weren't adhering to labor standards in that
Mhm.
country.
Mhm.
So I would consider that exploitation, but if they're abiding by labor standards
Mhm.
in that particular country,
Mhm.
I wouldn't really consider that exploitation.
Yeah,
And
and I don't think you practice it either. I know the products that you buy are generally from like United States, like fabrics. You don't buy those made in China stuff, you know. Uh,
uh, I don't know.
like I mean, other than the big
I,
stuff, like a cell phone, you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Other than
Like,
that, you
I'm sure my
generally,
cell phone was in China. I'm sure there's plenty of stuff, like my keyboard or something. Like, my
yeah,
motorcycle is built in the US, but
right.
I don't intend to buy stuff that's made locally,
Mhm,
like, from the United States.
mhm,
I'm fine with buying stuff from China,
mhm.
but yeah,
I
if
mean,
it's
yeah,
professional equipment, then I just kind of wanna buy something that's quality.
yes.
Like, same with clothing. I
Mhm,
mean, I don't wanna buy shitty pants that are gonna tear apart, but
right.
yeah, I don't look for a label like made in the US or something.
Okay,
Yeah, it's not
okay.
something I'm too concerned with.
I generally consider it because I think about that stuff and I'm like, if I were in an impoverished country and I was working 16 hours a day for $2, I wouldn't want some, you know, some guy in the United States to be contributing to that. So that's just the way I'm looking at it. But it's cool. It's cool. Um,
So, you'd still consider, buying, like, foreign products from a place that has lower labor standards, than the country you live in. You'd consider that supporting exploitation?
I wouldn't say it's exploitation. It's just I don't want to make them I don't want to make them work as hard as they need to work. Like they're making t-shirts. Why do they have to be spending so much time doing it just so I can get something for myself? You see what I mean? Like it's a personal gain for
Okay.
me and I know that I'm supporting them and giving them a job. And that's
Yeah.
that's the gray area that I'm talking about. It's like do you continue doing it or do you stop doing it?
Well, I don't know, like, to me, it just supports economic development. I wouldn't really consider it making their lives any harder.
Mhm.
Like, it's like, yeah, I'd say it sucks that they have to work in those conditions and they don't get, like, a lot of money, like, compensation for it, but
Uh-huh.
that's just part of economic development. Like, that's the best job that they can get in that country,
Right.
and it just doesn't make any sense to me to, like, choose not to, like, buy clothing or garments or any kind of product from that country because
Mhm.
the labor standards there and the
Mhm.
standards of living are different. So, yeah, I don't really see things from your perspective.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's because I mean I went there and I saw it
Yeah.
firsthand and it hurts because it's like, yeah, it's true, but that's the best thing that they can do. And it's like,
Right.
if I stop, I hurt them. But if I continue, I hurt them. So it's like, I guess continuing to buy that stuff would be
I
the
don't know.
lesser.
Like, does stopping hurt, like, or sorry, does continuing to support their,
The
like, buy
production,
products from there, like, does that hurt them? I don't think so.
economically, economically, I wouldn't say that it would hurt them. No, obviously buying stuff from there is, but I don't know. I just think, I honestly believe that the country would find a way to adapt to that sort of change. I don't think it would collapse, you know? I think they would figure out a way
I don't know.
to, yeah. It's weird.
Uh, I'm not too sure about that.
Yeah.
Like, I think like the reason working standards there are so poor is just because the country's poor.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't go to Africa and I mean, goodness gracious, Africa's a whole different, whole separate issue. Like I can't
Mhm.
even begin to start with them, but yeah.
And the issue too is, I mean, if you're going to boycott like garments in one country, I mean, another country is just gonna end up doing the same thing.
Yeah, true,
Yeah.
true, true. Okay, so that's good. Now we can transition, and this is kind of a separate issue, but not really. We can kind of put this in with the exploitation. But this is previous ownership of animal products. And let me
Mhm.
just set out some guidelines here. Uh, I still have, and I haven't bought any leather products since I became vegan. I go out of my way to do that stuff. But there are some things that I bought before I was vegan that were made from animal skin, and they're very expensive. And it's like, call me selfish for not giving it away, but unless I sell it, I don't see any other reason as to not wear it. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Like I'm coming off as a hypocrite though. That's my problem. It's like I'm a vegan. I'm
I don't
telling
know.
this guy don't do it, and I'm still wearing leather. You know?
Well, with that, I'd say like you're not really causing any more animal exploitation by wearing clothes that you already bought that are made out of leather or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you could give it away, but just someone else would be wearing it. So, if you personally just don't like the idea of wearing like an animal skin,
Mm-hmm.
I'd say, yeah, then give it away or sell it. But
Mm-hmm.
if that doesn't really bother you too much, I don't see anything morally wrong with
Continuing to
wearing
wear it.
like leather boots or something that you bought before you were vegan.
Yeah.
Though there are a few exceptions, like say if you bought a Canada Goose jacket before you were vegan,
Mm-hmm.
and
Is that the one
like
with the fur
yeah,
thing?
yeah,
Yeah.
especially if it has the fur on it. Like, you're kind of being a billboard for animal abuse. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you're supporting that company and that brand, and you're encouraging, like, other people to buy it because it's, like, seen as a big fashion accessory.
Right.
So, I'd see that as supporting animal cruelty because you're basically, being an advertisement for that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd say, like, if it's leather work boots or, I don't know, maybe motorcycle gloves that have leather, like you bought
Mm-hmm.
that sort of thing before you were vegan and
Mm-hmm.
you're wearing it, then I wouldn't really see that as an issue.
It's just the idea of it is not an issue, right? Like wearing it is not a particular issue. Like you said, it's not causing any additional suffering. The
Mm.
issue that I'm having with it is the hypocrisy of it, right? Why am I being demonized for something that I did before I changed by the same community, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like,
Oh, so you're saying vegans are criticizing you for still wearing it. Okay.
but what do you want me to do? Like, I'm required by my department, right, of criminal justice when I make a presentation to wear dress clothes. And,
Mhm.
shoot me. I'm sorry, but I have to wear I can go easily find, something else, but I already have this stuff. I already have leather shoes. I already have a belt that's made out of leather. I probably already have like a jacket that was made out of wool from the inside. Like
Right.
I'm required, I have to meet that specific attire in order to do the presentation. Otherwise, I'm going to lose points. So,
Right.
sorry, forgive me for wearing that stuff. But what do you want me to do? Just give away like hundreds of dollars of clothes? You want me to sell it? You think somebody will
Mhm.
buy secondhand clothes other than Goodwill? I mean, that's the crossroad that I'm at here. And it's like should they promote the message of veganism if they're wearing this stuff? That's the other issue. Should
Uh
should should I continue telling people the benefits of changing their diet and their lifestyle while I'm wearing that stuff?
like again, I think it's fine. I don't really see a huge problem with it.
Mhm.
Like again, I think it's way more wasteful
Mhm.
to just throw it away than to wear it. And I
Right.
mean, if you're going to give it away or sell it, like someone else is going to wear it.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't really see that as being an issue. Like, if you can recognize that I shouldn't have bought this, but I'm
Mhm.
just going to use it until it's worn out and
Mhm.
it just has to be discarded. like that makes perfect sense to me. I don't see any kind of level of hypocrisy by wearing that and then saying, like,
Go vegan.
supporting vegan. Yeah,
Oh, you're
I
crazy. You
don't see
shouldn't.
any
Yeah.
hypocrisy. Yeah.
Okay, good, good, good. So then the last thing that I want to consider. This is the last topic, but then there's one more thing I want to talk about, just on a personal level between you and I. This is
Mhm.
the last thing I wanted to cover for the moral gray areas of veganism, and that would be, this is the thing that my brothers give me the most crap on. Okay, so if you've been watching my YouTube videos, or if you intend to watch them later on, you'll notice that I gained a considerable amount of weight last year. I was going through some mental issues myself, and I wasn't
Mhm.
really coping, and I was letting myself go, literally eating just bags of potato chips and drinking sodas all day. And my brothers would give me crap, and they would say, "Oh, what kind of vegan are you? You look like crap." And
Mhm.
I had nothing to say. They're right. So the topic I wanted to cover was the people that promote veganism, that drink beer or alcohol, eat potato chips, eat junk food, don't exercise. Should they have this moral superiority over others? Like, should they be the ones giving this advice? Like, wouldn't you think that's kind of detrimental?
Um, Look, I don't think if you're like overweight or something and you're vegan, like you shouldn't be able to talk about the ethical benefits or the health benefits.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that, if you are fit and healthy and you take care of yourself, it just strengthens your argument
Mm-hmm.
when you talk about the health benefits.
Okay,
Yeah.
but they can argue ethics all day. That's fine.
Yeah.
But it's the health aspect of it. They're like, look at you, you're unhealthy.
Well, I mean, fuck, look at Lauren Cordain. I mean,
Oh
he's
yeah.
the guy who made the paleo diet book
Yeah.
and morbidly obese, and he's talking about the health benefits of his. So
Yeah.
it's not like this is an unusual thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you can point to a bunch of other people, like
Who was that guy
it's
that
not
went on?
abnormal.
Who's that guy
Sorry,
that went on Joe Rogan's podcast? You made two videos on him.
Sean Baker,
Was it Sean Baker? The dude, he's like,
2 videos.
yeah, you made like a part one and a part two.
Okay, I can't remember who you're talking
I
about.
think
Was
it's
he a
Sean.
fat dude?
No, he wasn't fat. He was a dude that said he just eats raw meat.
Yeah, yeah, Sean.
Okay, Sean
Yeah,
Baker.
I think it
Yeah,
was Sean Baker. Yeah,
I wouldn't.
he doesn't
Yeah,
eat it raw, but he eats nothing but
or
meat.
nothing but meat. Sorry. Yeah,
Yeah,
and Jordan Peterson came out with that recently. He said that he's on a high fat, high protein, and I'm just like, you have all this credibility in all these aspects of education, and then you come out with
yeah.
this nonsense.
Well, it's not their wheelhouse, right?
It's not,
I
but
mean, Sean Baker, he never studied nutrition, and he's crazy. Like, I mean, nobody turns 40 and they nobody turns 40 and says to themselves, I'm kind of out of shape. I
mm-hmm,
haven't been eating great, and I'm gonna make a change now.
mm-hmm.
Now that I'm 40, and I want to, yeah, I'm gonna eat nothing but red meat. Like, the guy's crazy. So
Okay.
yeah, and on top of that, he never studied nutrition. The guy's just a
Uh-huh.
chiropractic surgeon. He just scrapes scar tissue out of people's elbows. And like, I mean, none of these people, like Jordan Peterson, he's a behavioral psychologist.
Uh-huh.
Like, he never studied nutrition either, and he's just
Yeah.
taking. It seems like
Anecdotal
he's getting
claims.
most of his information from his daughter, and he's
Mm-hmm.
basing a lot of it on his own personal
Mm-hmm.
anecdotes. So yeah,
So here's the
none of
thing
these
then.
people know what they're talking about.
So here's the thing then. You mentioned crazy.
Hmm.
When you said crazy, there's two people that come to mind that you've hosted on your channel. Could you take a wild guess of who they are?
Hosted.
Like you've
Um,
debated, sorry.
oh, debated. Well, Jean Francois, I'd say he's a little nuts.
Uh-huh.
Destiny, I think you'd probably have Destiny in mind.
I think he was deliberately trying to be sociopathic or psychopathic
Yeah,
so
yeah.
he
I don't see
wouldn't.
him as a
Yeah.
sociopath.
I don't see
Yeah.
him like that either. But no, there's two people in particular that are just really out there. Can you take a
Yeah,
guess?
who? Okay.
You know?
Really out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I can't stare at it right now because it's kind of cloudy, but when it comes out, I'll stare at it for just a quick second.
Oh, Sverige. Yeah, Sverige
Yeah.
milk jar. Okay, yeah. Well, Sverige is fucking crazy.
Okay, so
Yeah, he
dude,
wants to eat people. because he hallucinated when looking at the sun. I mean,
This is the one thing that I've been waiting to discuss with you because I really want to hear what you have to say on it. So
mhm.
we can consider the debate concluded. You've answered a lot of questions. You've cleared up the muddy waters for me, and I really, really appreciate that. You've been a fantastic help. Now let's get to the personal thing. I want to talk to you on a one-to-one level. Recently, I have been watching. He calls himself. His name is Sferia. I like saying it like that instead of Sverige, but whatever.
Mhm.
He has been talking about eating raw meat religiously. And the thing that creeps me out the most, bro, this really creeps me the hell out, is the fact that he's been doing these interviews with people that have been vegan.
Oh, right, yeah.
You've been seeing these videos? Have they been
Yeah,
popping up
yeah,
on
I've
you?
seen a
This is
few.
creeping me the hell out, dude.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I honestly sat for a couple of minutes, maybe an hour at a time, and I thought, is he right? Am I gonna see myself 7 years down the road switching my beliefs? Because if it is the case that we were born to actually eat this stuff, then there's no wrong in killing and eating the animal. Like I'm trying to be consistent with my morals and my beliefs. But I'm just like, no, man, come on, don't question it. Like veganism is,
Well,
you know what I mean?
well, just because you were like you've adapted to eat a certain food, I wouldn't say that that gives you total moral justification to kill another animal
Uh huh.
for sustenance. Like, I mean, if you
He's
can,
saying that you need it. That's the difference. He's saying
well,
you need it.
it's clear that you don't. I
Right. I
mean,
know. Yeah.
yeah. Well, like I've seen this is a video he made a while ago,
Mhm.
and no, this was Milk Jar actually, not Sverige.
Mhm.
He met some dude who tried a vegan diet to manage his MS. I think it's multiple
Right.
sclerosis,
Right.
and it wasn't working out for him. And then he tried. He came across Milk Jar,
Mhm.
and then he figured, well, I'm gonna like die anyway from this, so might as well try.
Uh-huh.
He tried the raw meat diet that Milk Jar was following, and it improved his multiple sclerosis symptoms. Like he
Mhm.
got feeling back in his fingers and shit. So like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what like the idea that like what makes people do certain things, but I don't know. Maybe these people had some weird, odd health issues. I haven't seen
Mhm.
any of these videos, but I know Milk Jar has done a similar thing.
Mhm.
Like maybe these people had some weird digestive problems from whatever they're eating,
But is
and
raw
they
carnism really the solution? I mean, no
no,
way.
not necessarily. Like it could just be better for their particular health problem than whatever vegan diet they were following. Like
Mhm.
maybe bread or something with gluten, like
Mhm.
oats in it, was giving them problems, or maybe it was like certain types of fruit that were giving them problems.
Mhm.
Like I don't know. There are weird, odd allergies, but I'd imagine they switched to eating raw meat because of some sort of weird digestive problem they have that's
Yeah.
pretty rare.
There
So,
there was a guy that went on Sverage's live stream or video chat and
mhm,
what did he call himself? He called himself the health nutrition, the vegan something. He's this black dude with like this amazing physique, and he was vegan for 7 years. And
right.
then he like thanked Sverige as if he was like the god or whatever, and said, "Yeah, man, thank you so much. I was tricked." And it makes you think. Like it really makes you think. Like
Right.
here's this guy with an immaculate body that he got from a vegan diet, and then he's on this raw meat diet for a year, and his body still looks good. It makes you question it, and
Oh, well, humans are
yeah.
like rats. We can fucking live off of anything. And if you want to look good, like just
Hmm.
look good, you can literally eat anything as long as you control your calories.
Less than
Like that
you
doesn't
burn,
really,
right?
yeah, that doesn't really mean anything just because he looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what that like honestly, I think there is probably a lot of weird vegans that you just don't typically see.
Hmm.
Like I'd imagine that there are quite a lot of people who go vegan just for like weird social reasons.
Hmm.
Like even though they can agree with ethics,
Hmm.
like this happened to Nick Ocado. I mean,
Oh, don't get me started with
clear
him, man.
yeah, well, clearly, I'm sure the guy recognizes that it's better not to kill animals than to kill
Uh-huh.
animals, but he clearly went vegan for weird social reasons, which is
Yeah. He
why,
wanted to associate with a specific
yeah,
group. It was so
yeah.
obvious.
So I think that's probably like the guy you're describing, the huge black guy who looks like he's in really good shape.
Uh-huh.
Like, that's probably what happened. Like, he wanted to go vegan for some weird social reason, and
No,
he
on the
saw it as sort
contrary.
of like, yeah,
On the
what?
complete contrary, I'm sorry. He went because of health, and then along the
Yeah.
way he found out that there were this ethics tied to it. And then his ethics,
Okay.
yeah, and then his ethics went out the window when he found out that that diet wasn't suitable for him. And like me, I did it
So,
initially,
so
yeah.
okay, so wait, for that black dude,
Yeah.
what was the problem? Like, he was
He
developing
said,
health issues?
yeah, he said for the first 4 years he was fine, and then after that he started having issues in his digestive tract or something. I'd have to rewatch the live
Right,
stream because it
right.
was like an hour long, but he specifically said that he developed issues from eating a plant-based diet.
I think the guy's just crazy, to
And
be honest with
the
you.
only issues that I
Yeah.
had from eating a plant-based diet was because I was eating a ton of processed, nasty junk food. And I
Right.
would literally, just sit at my computer and smell bad and gain weight, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But if you see my videos now, within 2 months, I've shed that weight. Like
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
six. I'm gonna post a physique update after this live stream,
Well,
but yeah.
yeah, I mean, when I first went vegan, I just
Mhm.
lost 10 pounds immediately without
Mhm.
even trying. Like, I was never able to get that lean and stay like this
Right.
lean on the eating diet. It just makes it super easy. And I think it is beyond caloric control.
Mhm.
I think it definitely does accelerate your metabolism.
Mhm.
But
Well, you're eating a bunch of
yeah,
food. You're eating a ton of food, and you're satiating your body, and you're
yeah,
crapping it out, and all that excess waste and urine, all that stuff coming out is you basically losing weight. The more you do
yeah,
it, the more things come out of your body. It's almost like a cleanse.
yeah,
So there's a ton of benefits, and
yeah.
yeah.
I don't see how you could be fine for 4 years and then out of nowhere just develop digestive problems. Like, he seems like he's just nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
he's listening to fucking Sfarage, like,
Yeah. I mean, I
yeah.
question it because I'm gonna say it again. Like, I'm not 100% in everything I believe. Like, I'm atheist, but is there a God? Maybe. No, there's not. I think about it again, and I'm like, no, there's not.
Yeah.
It's same thing with veganism. It's like this is the way to go, and I've convinced myself to not eat any animal products for the rest of my life, even if somebody proved to me that they can grow lab meat, even if somebody proved to me that the animal didn't suffer, I'm still not going to do it. I don't see any ethics whatsoever into it, right? Like,
Mhm.
if they're not doing it to us, why should I do it to them? Plain and simple.
Right.
But yeah, that was the one thing I wanted to talk to you about on the personal level because I thought it was pretty funny. Also, Doc Testosterone, I think you mentioned it in your live stream. He went
Yeah,
vegan.
yeah, yeah,
It's just
yeah.
he
He
came to the
he's he said, he did it for ethical reasons, not for health reasons. I have a
right.
feeling it's a bit of both.
Did you see the
Yeah.
amount of weight he lost? Like you can clearly see it
Oh,
around
did
his
he?
neck. Yeah, you can see it.
Oh,
Like he
yeah?
got super thin.
Huh.
Um, and he's eating bread.
Oh, yeah?
So
That's funny.
who else?
Yeah.
I think there was somebody else that went vegan. Repsion went vegan. Uh,
Is he still vegan?
I don't know if he's still vegan, but I remember he said it and he was talking about ethics and stuff. And I'm just like,
I think he went off for some reason,
uh
and
huh.
somebody told me about that.
It's just
I'm not
funny.
sure.
Yeah, it's funny the effect that you've had on these people. Like they
Mhm.
come to hate you at first, and they just it's kind of like Gary Urofsky. You kind of have that same effect. They look at this dude as a terrible person. Oh, he's mean, he's rude, whatever. Like, oh, maybe he's right in what he's saying. Yeah,
Mhm.
my actions shouldn't, mask over, or my actions should mask over my words. I shouldn't be doing this. It's stuff like that, but
Mhm.
nonetheless, dude, I totally appreciate you doing this. Oh, and I don't know if you're live streaming it on your channel right now.
No.
You're not? Okay. But when you post it, if you post it, for all
Right.
those people that said, oh, he's not going to debate a nobody, what do you have to say now? Willie Wiener got a debate with Vegan Gains, and I appreciated every second of it. So, dude, thank you
Yeah, no
so
problem.
much for your time.
Yeah, like it was an interesting discussion, so maybe I'll just repost it on my channel once it's up on
Perfect.
yours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. Because I'm trying to get a following, and
Yeah.
I know it was way out there. I'm like, he's not going to debate me, but we'll give it a shot. So hopefully,
Mhm.
your viewers come over to my channel, see what my thing is about. I'm trying to promote the vegan message, and just to give you a little bit more clarity, basically what I'm doing is I am posting a video every single day to hold myself accountable for lifting weights, no matter what, like sick, no sick, I'm still going to do it, and
Mhm.
I'm trying to show them like a living documentary of a 1 year transformation on a vegan diet.
Okay, dope.
Yeah, and I think after this 1 year, like my physique would obviously look a lot better than it does now. But maybe people will, bless you. Maybe people will cling on to that and give me a following. So all in
Yeah,
the
that'd be
all in the
cool.
name of veganism.
Sounds like a
So
good idea.
yeah, I've been thinking about it for a while. I don't go to the gym. I have my own home gym.
Mhm.
I always advocate for people to work out at home because it saves money and you don't have to
Right.
go through the mess of driving. But this is mainly my channel is mainly a lifting channel, like lifting weights, and then nutrition is kind of like one of those side things. And
Mhm.
I don't know if it's exactly the same, but that smoothie that you made, that protein smoothie, that is literally the best thing that I have ever done. Like I have made it a habit to where I have that at least once a day, right? The hemp seed, the blueberry, the cherry, and the kale.
Mhm.
Dude, massive benefits from that. The weight's
Yeah.
literally coming off. Um, and the problem with me though is that I'm following a really strict diet, like literally oatmeal every single day except for Thursday and Sunday, and then a specific meal for Monday, a specific meal for Tuesday, and I repeat that cycle every
Right. I
single week.
like I like being really consistent like that too.
Hmm.
It just helps me
Oh
to
yeah. I
yeah.
mean, I know you're sick now, but are you gonna try and make any efforts to going back and I know you said that you had that heart palpitation or heart problem last
Yeah,
year.
I just had a ECG,
Mhm.
echocardiogram done, and I just want to make sure that I don't have like what is it? Left ventricular hypertrophy or something.
I don't know what the hell that
Because
is.
just when like your heart muscle becomes enlarged basically,
Uh-oh.
and it can cause like heart rhythm issues and shit. And yeah, I think I might have that because even yeah, like just because I usually end up getting weird heart rhythms
Mhm.
when I'm really, really training hard for several months.
Mhm.
And like I've just done way too much exercise
Mhm.
throughout my life. Like my parents just had me do way too much exercise as a kid.
Yeah, you played
Uh, there
hockey
was
a
a
lot.
really there was a really long stretch of time too when I was cycling like
Mhm.
3+ hours a day, which is
Easy.
just too fucking much.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I just want to make sure everything's good with my heart there.
Oh,
Because yeah,
also,
yeah,
sorry. I'm sorry. I wanted to bring this up. And I know if he sees this video, he might go nuts about it, but did you hear about Alexander Leonidas, Alpha Destiny? Did you watch his videos or
yeah, yeah,
no?
yeah. Yeah,
He
he went vegan.
he he went vegan. That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
But I mean, if I were you, I've been following him and this guy named Eric Bugenhagen. Are you familiar with
okay.
him?
No, I haven't heard of him.
Eric Bugenhagen is freaking insane, dude. He's like rack pulling 1,000 pounds plus, and their method of training is Bulgarian style. Literally,
Right.
you walk into the gym, you one rep max, and then you go home. If you want, you can add 5 pounds to the side and then one rep max that and keep going until you've reached your potential. And then the next day you do the same thing. I've been doing that. I've been following his thing. Bro, I guarantee you in 6 months, you will start seeing traps on my body. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because I'll walk in and my body will be fresh. I'll stretch for a little bit. I'll do a one rep max. I'll put the weight down. Tomorrow, I'll do the same exact exercise. I'll do it again and again and again. And then I'll follow my daily regimen, right? But the
Hmm.
idea is that you find one particular exercise that you like to do. So let's say the deadlift, for example. Do the deadlift every single day until you reach a plateau. And
Right.
then once you've reached that plateau, change to another exercise, do that until you plateau, then come back to the deadlift and then see the carryover. It's really
Okay.
cool. Yeah. So I'm just saying that's some
Yeah.
advice. Check out Alpha Destiny's channel because that dude makes insane gains and I'm making gains just like he is. But yeah. I don't know if there's anything else you want to say. Because I'm
Uh,
pretty much done.
yeah, I think this was a good stream. It's like good to have these kind of conversations. I
Hmm.
mean, yeah, I love debating like weird gray areas, and it's good
Hmm.
to have this kind of discourse.
Oh, sorry. Something I'm like a freaking goldfish thing pops up.
Mhm.
Um, any news about Matt Dillahunty debate being scheduled? Are you gonna
Oh
get in
no,
contact?
I was holding off on messaging Pangburn Philosophy
Uh huh.
because Matt's coming here in April, and
Hmm.
I'm moving into a new apartment in April.
Okay.
So I just wanted to make sure that was all sorted out before I challenged him to a debate. So
Okay.
probably gonna message Pangburn Philosophy now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, man. I'm really excited to see that. I love your content. If you see Isaac at any time, tell him I said hello. I love his stuff, and tell Jasmine
Sure.
I said hello. She's awesome.
Okay. All right.
All right,
Thanks,
man.
man.
Take it easy, brother.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, weenies. That's the end of the chat. Let me just adjust this. Okay, that's the end of the discussion. It didn't really turn out into a debate because I guess we mainly agree on a bunch of stuff, but really productive nonetheless. I thought it was pretty exciting. He's got crazy purple hair, and I've got a wiener suit on. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, leave a comment in the comment section down below. If you didn't like my video or you didn't like the live stream, be honest. Hit the dislike button. If you don't like me, talk nasty about me. I don't care. All that matters is that we're talking about stuff and we're creating dialogue. So that's all I got for you guys today. Always keep in mind, be a wiener, not. I messed it up. Be a wiener, not a winner. I'll see you guys tomorrow.